We are preparing to live stream the meeting. Going live in. Make sure we get this because I have to mute it. Otherwise, we get echo, 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 echo. There we go. Got that going. And try this recording on here, see if that'll work. And we're up and running. 2 minis in the beginning. Whoop, whoop. All right. All sorts of stuff that I got in mind. Let me pull up my notes. But because Singles Awareness Day was yesterday, I figured I would touch on some dating stuff. Those of you who have been able to, thanks, Francine. Those of you that were on a couple of the other ones, we've gone through the 1 year delay, I call it, dating protocol. I'll wait until we get a few more people on because I'm pretty sure, other than Francine, I think Francine's the only one that wasn't around for that one. But as far as I know, she's not looking to be finding a new partner at all. So yeah, so we don't have to touch on that. One thing I will address is the importance of communication, especially in the Echo Talk, 3 Magic Questions and Values and Criteria elicitation. Since our last one, I had a client that I taught that to. First time they'd ever heard of any of it. And those of you who have had the fun of learning Echo Talk, you can think back to the very first time you started learning it and you're like, that's it? No. That really? That works? Like, no, they're going to catch me. I just, they're going to figure it out right away. And this is crazy. And then I finally told her that I was going to hold up a finger every time I echoed her, because I'd already been echoing her full time for at least a half hour. And I had her record the session so that specifically I knew I was going to be going over Echo Talk. I said, that's why I wanted you to record it, because I want you now, when you get a chance, play the session again, because now you're going to understand how much I echo you all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And challenged her to get caught. This is not only for client. Hey, Dara. This isn't just for client work. This should be, again, how you speak with everybody, anybody, anywhere, all the time, all the time, all the time. I've said it many times that Echo Talk should be taught to children like right after they learn how to say mama, dada. Teach them how to do this. The world would be a much better place, especially for one of the coolest comments she had when about 3/4 of the way through, she goes, I pointed out, have you ever seen closed captioning on TV. You've used it before. Once you learn echo talk, it's amazing how you will almost see the words flowing out of a person's mouth in a constant stream. There's Fran. There's Fran. And the nonverbal echoes too. Yes, Elijah, absolutely. The more you start paying attention, the easier it gets, and that's the whole thing behind echo talk and mirroring and things like that, is learning to pay attention to the person you're talking to rather than, most people are just waiting for the other one to shut up so that they can start talking and tell their side of the story. And they miss so much. And when I start teaching this to people for the dating application, I think a lot of times they unfortunately think that it's only something you use for the dating period, or it's only something that you would use in a professional setting, or. And I can't tell you the number of times it's saved me, because I've got some hearing challenges that I'm working with. And I'll echo them and they're like, well, no, that's not what I said. And I'm like, cool. What did you say? Because I was kind of wondering why you would say something like that anyway. You guys have all had that. Somebody, you hear something come out of somebody's mouth and you're like, I'm pretty sure that's not what you said. Could you repeat what you just said? And then they say something, and you're like, yeah, that is not what I heard. I am so glad you cleared that up, because I would get a little concerned. But it also gets a little humorous when you are doing echo talk, because they hear the reply and they'll give you that look like, what? Well, that's what I heard. What did you say? And the more you do it, the less they notice you echoing. For those of you that have learned echo talk, do you have, or have you practiced your reply in the very, very rare occasion that somebody may ask you if you're repeating what they're saying? If you've practiced your reply or even thought of having a reply?
No, I haven't.
Okay, then we're going to cover that part, only because it's one of those funny little insurance policies that chances are I have yet to be questioned.
Me too.
I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've tried to get caught, like literally tried to get caught. And the one that I teach my students is, if somebody's like, are you repeating what I'm saying? And the reply is, well, yes, sometimes I will repeat what people say to make sure that what you said is what I heard. And here's the clincher, because we all want to be better understood, right? With the head nod. I've only had one or two students that have replied that they actually had to use that, and that was because they were parroting. They were literally working hard, memorizing the entire sentence and then repeating the entire sentence back, and that's when people are like, okay, that was kind of weird. Why are you repeating everything I say? Well, because I wanted to make sure that what you said is what I heard, because we all want to be better understood, right? Sweetheart? But that's the generic. If that's the first time you guys have heard it and you want to write it down, I'll go over it one more time slow. Yeah, sometimes I repeat what people say to make sure what I heard is what you said. Because we all want to be better understood, right? Shaking your head the whole time. And it's funny, even the people that I'm teaching this to, can't help it when I do it. I watch you guys, bobbleheads. It's a great natural reaction. Then once you've got that down, or once you understand yeah, Bonnie, got a question?
Yeah, does it work the same if sometimes what I'll say is, here's what I think I heard you say. So it's more overt.
Yeah, that one is not what I'm going to call echo talk.
Okay.
That is more of a clarification.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of or been officially taught echo talk, Bonnie?
Probably in one of David's classes that I probably like squirreled away in my head.
Well, if you were in David's class when he taught it, it wouldn't be probably.
Oh, okay.
Those, anybody that's taken David's classes that can verify for me, if you had that class with David, it would not be probably, you would know. So echo talk works on the basis of the question, what is it that everybody loves to hear the most? And the number one incorrect answer that I've had is their name. I'm like, yes, okay, it's wonderful to hear my name. But if you say my name 72 times in a conversation, by about number 6, I'm like, your walnut's not completely cracked, is it? So, okay. The answer is the words that just came out of their mouth. The reason they have so much more weight is the words that just came out of their mouth are completely vetted. They know exactly what they mean. They know why they said it and what it means to them. So when you repeat key words back in a reply, and they hear their words, not a word that's close to it, that's reflective talk. If they hear their exact words coming back, they feel heard, understood, and it builds rapport super quick. And again, I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, whatever. And really? I mean, that's way too simple. And David taught it at a meetup. So this wasn't even an official class. And so I'm like, and his orders were, now go out and try to get caught. I'm like, ha ha, challenge accepted. And at the time, this was before I'd met my wife, I had a lady friend that we'd dated on and off for the first couple of years we knew each other. But at this time, we'd already known each other for 7 years. She knew me. So it wasn't unusual for me to call her up and after a class and tell her I'm going to swing by and have a little chit chat. I call her up, hey, I learned this new technique. I want to swing by and tell you about it. She's like, all right. I get to her place, she opens up the door, and I go right into echo talk to get caught. We talked for 15 minutes straight until before she was like, wait a minute, weren't you weren't you going to tell me something about something you learned? I'm like, yeah, we'll get back to that. Keep telling me about your day. Another 15 minutes go by where I am echoing. And she's like, weren't you going to teach me something? I'm like, yeah. Get back to your day. We'll get to that. 45 minutes later, I can't take it anymore. I'm cracking up. And she's like, what's so funny? I said, you know that technique I was going to teach you? She's like, yeah, when are you going to tell me about it? I went, I've been doing it since I got here. And she's like, you what? I said, well, it's called Echo Talk, blah, 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 short. I gave her a real short description. And she goes, wait a minute. You've been repeating everything I've been saying? And I'm like, well, I kind of been repeating everything you're saying. But out of curiosity, how do you feel about this conversation? And she thought for a bit. She goes, this is probably the best conversation we've ever had. 7 years. And even after I explained it to her, I was there for another hour or so, echoing the shit out of her. And that's where people accidentally think that it's a trick or something that you're doing to somebody. And you're not. Please understand, you're not. It's something that you do with somebody called higher level communication. As Elijah pointed out here, you also never mix up presuppositions that way. It never get labels muddled up, because you're using their words that they know exactly what that means to them. One of David's favorite examples would be the difference between echo talk and reflective talk in the case of suicide hotline. Ring, suicide hotline, how can I help you? Yeah, I'm thinking about killing myself. Oh, so you're thinking about taking your life? No, damn it. I said I'm thinking about killing myself, because they're not a match. He had to stop, take the words that were given back to him and make sure that there was some type of commonality in them. Versus ring, suicide hotline. Yeah, I'm thinking about killing myself. Oh, so you're thinking about killing yourself? Yeah. Exact match. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to try and justify what came back to them. Now, the biggest challenge for new learners on this, as I kind of pointed out earlier, is figuring out that mix and flow on what is enough words and what is too much words. And added to the times where you'll get somebody who loves to ramble on. When you echo talk, I promise you, you will get people to talk. The cool thing is, raise your hand if you hate small talk. Yeah, well, the cool part here, they will do most of the talking. And echo talk is like learning a brand new language. The only thing that the super cool part about it is you get to use all the words that you already know. And the person you're talking to with gives you 70% of the words you're going to use anyway. So you don't have to think up subjects. You don't have to come up with words. You don't have to do, most of the conversation comes from them. So small talk is a breeze. But back to the people that like to super talk and ramble once you get them rolling, that's where a lot of the new people are like, oh my God, how do I remember all of that? The trick is, remember a key word from the beginning, a key word from the middle, and a few of the last keywords when they get done, and put them into a reply, and they will think that you memorized everything they said. You heard every single word. Doesn't matter if they rambled for 5 minutes. And it is amazing. Let's see, the other part, as I've pointed out, virtually undetectable. But I'm going to give you guys the diffuser in the event that you overdo it and somebody calls you out on it. The only way you can get caught is if somebody calls you out on it and you stop, just like that. Now you've been doing something. And it's called the spotlight effect. What you have to understand is that spotlight only exists in your mind. Oh, they figured it out. Somebody saw it. They figured it out. Oh, the spotlight's on me. I'm busted. No, you're not. As long as you don't quit. Use the reply that I went over with earlier, or just keep going like I don't know what you're talking about, and keep doing it. And Echo Talk works in standard conversation, email, and text. And for those of you that text me every now and then, yeah, if you go back, you may notice some of your words are in my replies, because that's just how it works. And I've done copy and paste and a few deletes and a few insertions for the reply, and boom, off we go. Save some time. One of my clients that I taught this to had that look on her face that most new people do, like, no, that can't work. The night that I taught her this, she, on the next session, admitted she went to go do it. A friend of hers texted her, and so she was doing the copy and paste and stuff like that. And she said normally their conversation, their texting will go on for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and they're done. 5 minutes into it, all of a sudden, she gets a reply. Are you repeating what I'm saying, or are you just making fun of me? Boom! Spotlight effect came on. Big spotlight. And then she goes, wait a minute, TJ said, don't stop. And on top of it all, before she could even come up with a reply, they sent another text. And so she went, game on. Kept doing it. They chit-chatted on text for almost 40 minutes with only one little questioning of it. And Elijah put out a good point. The easiest way to get caught is to have a motive of some sort. If you're genuinely congruent in your interest to find out about the other person, they will never call you out. And that is absolutely true. It's probably why I haven't been caught, because I don't do it as a trick for anybody. I do it because it's the best way for me that I know of how to communicate so far.
So TJ, I have a question for you.
Sir.
Depending on the nature of, especially in text and emails and longer, especially written conversations.
Yep.
If like somebody puts like this comment or put something in that and then they're responding to something that I said, then I don't mind that. But when somebody really echoes me, it pisses me off in a text conversation. Like I pick it up right away. Is that because of the training, or like I pick it up and it pisses me off? Like basically conversation stops at that point.
Chances are you pick it up 10 times more because of the training than people who have never had that training. And a lot of times, if the person who did it to you has not had the training, they're doing it with a motive or to be snarky about the reply. that, because I may or may not have done that before the training to a couple of people, just so they can hear what they sent me. And then I would add my little to it, just to go, yeah, really, whatever, bye. So the more you learn how to do this, the more you will be able to pinpoint it, especially if you're not in the conversation. Those of us that have been in David's class know that there's going to be a point. Somebody's going to ask a question, and David's going to turn to him, and he is going to echo the snot out of them, and the conversation will go until he figures he'd proven his point well enough. And then he'll ask them, so how many of your words did I use? And their face will be like, and everybody around them's giggling, and they have no idea. Which again is why a vast majority of people think that it's a trick. It's not. Any questions on that? Because that was 24 minutes of a, what's that, usually a 3-hour portion of the class, crammed into 24 minutes. I know some of you that have never heard this before, your brains are like, what else? I'm trying to remember what I put on Facebook. Dating. Job skills. Guess where else Echo Talk works really well at? Interviews. Along with values and criteria elicitation. Now, those of you that have also taken that class with David, values and criteria is what we use basically to do anything and every decision we've ever made, everything we've ever done, which is all decisions, are all based on values and criteria. When you get good at asking the right questions, it gets you can start seeing what I call the bricks in the foundation of their decision making. And again, depending on what you're going for, what you're looking for, values and criteria elicitation is also an extremely effective, powerful way to diffuse an argument. Because if somebody's trying to argue with you and you can look in and figure out what their values and criteria are, you can start disassembling the foundation of their argument, and they watch it crumble right in front of them, and they don't know what the hell happened. They just know that somehow you've poked holes in all their arguments. Now, if you're into sales, this should be the number one way that you do sales with anybody. And it comes down to two basic questions. And one would be, why is that important to you? And how will you know when you get it? And when you can start asking that and drilling down to what's important to them about, sometimes you will find out that they came in with the wrong idea, looking for the wrong thing. I've been able to clarify that. Well, it's part of what I do for for my clients. Change work is a lot of values and criteria elicitation. But one store, I don't know who came up with this for them, but it was brilliant. And I wish that they could figure out who taught it to their sales staff, because they need the credit. And it became known as the Macy's effect. Is there anybody here who has never heard of Macy's department store? Macy's parade and all the above? Well, back in the day, when they were trying to be upcoming and competing with everybody else, somebody taught the sales staff what is found out to be the Macy's effect, where Mrs. Olsen comes in and one of the sales reps comes up and says, "How can I help you today?" And she goes, "Well, I'm looking for a blender." And he immediately starts drilling down on values and criteria. "Well, what's important to you in a blender?" "Well, are you looking for stainless or glass? Or are you looking for this or that? How are you going to use it? What's going to be, and all of a sudden it's a bunch of questions, but they're not just random questions. It's to find out what's important about. How will you know when you get it? And then the caveat for salespeople is at the very end, where the salesman figures out all of Mrs. Olsen's values and criteria. And all of a sudden he goes, "I know which one you're looking for. We don't have it, but hold on just a sec. I'll be right back." And he disappears. All of a sudden he comes back and he goes, "I found it for you. It's at Sears, about a block and a half away, and they've got one waiting for you at the customer service desk." And Mrs. Olsen is like, "You're sending me to your competition?" And he goes, "Well, after we talked, it's clear that the one that you're looking for is the Model XYZ2, and we don't have that, but Sears has them. They've got one waiting for you." So Mrs. Olsen leaves, almost in shock, goes down to Sears. Sure enough, there's the Model XYZ2 waiting for her. Where do you think she goes for everything after that? Macy's. Who do you think she tells after that? Everybody. Everybody. And where does everybody go? Because they don't want to go shopping around and getting talked into, "Well, the one you're looking for is the one that we got right here on the shelf. I don't care what your values and criteria are, but we got this here right here. It's on sale. It's a perfect one for you." And they get home and it's a piece of junk. I've also had a number of salesmen, especially car salesmen, because I did that for a while, and they've got a bad reputation. Am I right? "Yeah, I need to make my quota today. Don't care what you need. You need this right here, this big old 4x4. It's on sale right now. I can talk to the manager. We can get that down for about $3,000 more. And you trade in that old clunker you got there, because I need that so I can sell it to the next person. But yeah, that's what you need there, Mrs. Olsen. I know you can hardly get up in it, but that's exactly what you need." So I started teaching values and criteria to these guys, and I've gotten calls back from 3 of them. Their sales went up, ironically. Their referrals went up big time. And the old boys that had been doing it longer and didn't want to learn what I was going to teach are pissed off, because they're trying to figure out what kind of trick these little shits are doing. And all they're doing is drilling down to values and criteria. What is it? What is it you're looking for? Why is that important to you? When you get it, how will you know? Any questions on that? Because that is another 3 to 4 hour lesson that got crammed into about 10 minutes. We all good? I'm not putting you to sleep or anything? All right, cool. Anybody see my Facebook post that has a better memory than I do at this present time? It's been a day. Well, till I remember, oh, there it is. Power poses. Yes, power poses. Is there anybody here that doesn't know what power poses are? Otherwise, I will glaze over it in the fastest. I think pretty much. If you have no idea what a power pose is, go ahead, just send me a little message, and I'll do a little more in depth. But okay, on. Yes, we have somebody new. No problem, on. Power poses was brought up as a concept by Dr. Amy Cuddy, Cuddy. I'm pretty sure that she owes Dr. David and I some royalties for the thousands of people that we have sent to her YouTube video on a TED Talk that she did, where she basically goes over 4 different poses that, when held for a minimum of 2 minutes, can change mood and blood makeup, increasing testosterone, lowering cortisol, which is the depression hormone. And one of the ways that I'm pretty sure that she was on track is the science community lost their mind and tried to throw her under the bus about 8 times because they couldn't get the exact same numbers that she said, so it must be bogus. Whatever. My answer to that is, did the subjects feel a change? Did something work for them? I know it works for me big time. I know that the people I've taught it to all have felt major change. I'm going to call that good. I don't care if it actually is something that you can record in the blood or not. But 4 basic poses. Get back here. My favorite one. All of our favorite. Whoop. Power pose. Yay! Victory pose. Rock and roll. The other one, we call it Wonder Woman pose. Unless you're from Northern California. I can say that now that I don't live there anymore. Another one I call Chippin' CEO. If this was a big meeting table, fists down, this is how we're going to attack it. This is what we're going to do. Da, 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 da. The other one I love to call Confident Entrepreneur. Feet up on the desk, hands behind the head. But the difference is the reason you hold it and the power you put into the hold. That's why they're called power poses. Too many times when I see people do these for the first time, they will assume the pose with about as much excitement as the proverbial paint drying. Show me a victory pose. Yeah, there's the power. So I have to train them and all. Oh, Elijah posted a link to it. Awesome. Thanks, brother. I'll, when I'm demonstrating this, if I can find an athlete, they're my favorite, get them up, they're competitive, and I will ask them what they play, and I will run a scenario through where whatever game they're playing, like baseball, it's tied, or you guys are behind, 2 runs, bottom of the 9th, bases are loaded, 2 outs, 2 strikes. This is the one for the win. Ball comes, here it is. Smack, you know that sound. That ball is going over the fence into the next parking lot. Show me how that feels for you in 3, 2, 1. And all of a sudden, they've got all the energy to light up the entire city. And I tell them, that's what you hold for 2 minutes. And after about a minute and a half, your body is going to be like, are we done yet? This is forever. And then about a minute 45, something clicks. And it's no longer a strain because you can feel the change. And the other reason, one of the reasons that I prefer the victory pose is because children born blind with no reference do this when they accomplish something. Animals in the wild do this. It is written right onto our hard drive. It's a basic life form program of victory. And then I came up with a way to super boost it. Turbocharge! Add the nitrous. Woohoo! And that's through something that I call questioning affirmations. Now, is there anybody here that doesn't know what an affirmation is? Anybody? Affirmations? If I've got a quick challenge. Anybody that can type into the chat, type one of your favorite affirmations. Give you a couple seconds. There's a questioning affirmation from Linda. She may or may not have. How is it that I can be so good at this? How much better can today get? I am full of joy today. Every day in every way, my life is getting better and better. I have a millionaire mind. Right on, John. The most common ones that I get all start with the way Lenora and John replied. They may or may not have been some of my, they know what I'm looking for. Yes. Those are the most common I am statements. I am rich. I am beautiful. I am. All of them being identities, all of them being statements. The subconscious loves to research and find answers and check to make sure that what was said is true. And it also is there to make sure that we don't change because change is scary. Who knows what's out there? Could be dangerous. And so when we make I am statements, the conscious and the subconscious are like, is that true? I mean, I don't know. Really? Is that true? Better check. And so here we are. I am rich. I am rich. I am rich. I am rich. Open up the bank account, and the subconscious goes, "Frickin' liar. We're not rich. This doesn't work." So what I came up with is changing them into questioning affirmations that give your subconscious something to research, validate, and look for solutions if you're not there yet. Like how, Linda, how is it I can be so good at this? Yeah, the subconscious go, well, I don't know. We better check. Well, because we've done this before, because we're intelligent, because we know how to do these things, because I'm Tigger. Now, the questioning affirmations can be event specific. So when I work with my athletes, when I work with my college students, stuff like that, I make sure that they understand this part. Especially like for the college students, I've had some of the best feedback ever. I have them when they're on their way to a test, midterms, they're freaked out, blah, blah, blah. I say, now, before you get there, dive into the bathroom, set 2 minutes on your phone, strike a pose, strong as you can, and ask yourself questioning affirmations like, why is this test so much easier than I thought it would be? Why am I able to remember all the stuff the teacher taught me? Why am I able to focus on the test and not be distracted by anybody else? Why does time seem to just stand still so that I have all the time I need in the world to complete this test? Why don't I feel any pressure? Why am I so relaxed today? And I tell them, if you can only think of 3 questions, repeat those 3 questions for 2 minutes. And of course, college students, because they know everything, ask them, they'll tell you. I tell them, you don't have to believe me. Just do it. Twice. 3 times preferably, just to prove that something or nothing happened. Oh, the looks on their little faces when I see them next time, they're like, oh my God, it works! I'm like, yeah, it does. Works well. And so I actually just taught this to one of my clients' kids who plays basketball. And one of the cool things is, one of the classes, there was a football player or a football coach that happened to be joining online. And apparently his school's football program was kind of like the Bad News Bears. Yeah, their winning streak was pretty non-existent. And so he figured, what the heck? He had his football players all do power poses before the game and during halftime. And of course, the kids are like, we're going to look dumb. Everybody's going to see us by the sideline during halftime when we're over on the side doing it. It's like, but he had him do it during practice. And that was the first year that they won like almost every game. Now, it could be coincidence. It could have been in the water. Who knows? It, changed the Gatorade they were drinking, but I doubt it. So that's power poses and questioning affirmations. And another amazingly quick dump. Any questions on that? Bueller? You guys are awesome. Rocking and rolling. Here's another one is, especially when doing coaching or certain types of clients you work with, remember to ask permission to be tough. Too often we don't, and especially in this day and age of paper thin skin and hypersensitized feelings and the need for safe spaces, you kind of have to remember, is it okay? Are you all right with me being tough with you? Because what you've tried in the past apparently hasn't gotten you to where you need to be. And it goes along with the question that I brought up, I think last week, was, are you interested or committed in achieving these goals? Because if you're only interested, you'll do whatever is convenient, including finding all the excuses you need.
One of the things I'd like to add in there, TJ, is
Yeah.
it's not just in coaching, but anytime that for myself personally, I made it a habit when I'm actually having a conversation with somebody. People hate unsolicited advice, so I ask them if I can give them something around that, or like basically I ask permission to add my thoughts in on it.
Awesome. That's super cool. It's what I love about doing this, because I hadn't thought of that addition to it. And then again, with that, the part with, are you interested or committed in it, you'll do whatever it takes to achieve them as soon as possible. And then I heard another little twist added to that, because if I were to drill down and find out from you how long would it take, what is the absolute shortest amount of time that you believe that you could get this accomplished? And if they say 3 weeks, well, no problem, Bonnie. Thank you for attending, and you can catch the rest on the recording. But if they come up and they say, well, the fastest I could do it is 3 weeks, I tell them, then give yourself 3 weeks. Because if you give yourself 3 weeks, it'll take you 3 weeks. But if you give yourself 3 months, it'll take you 3 months. And like I used to do back in the day, I knew that I could get it done in 3 weeks, but I gave myself 3 months, and I ended up having to do it in 2 weeks at the end of 3 months. Stressed out of my gourd. Yeah, who's been there? Class projects, all the above. You knew that you could get the damn thing done in an hour, and the teacher gave you 3 weeks to finish it. When did you do it? Half an hour before it was time to turn it in, going, oh God, this sucks! I hate homework, this sucks! And then you found out you can do it in a half hour. The results suck. You got a D. If you'd have had an hour, you'd have got it done. So all of that, wrapped into, again, the permission to be tough. And make sure that they acknowledge what that means. Oh yeah, you can be tough just as long as you don't tell me I've got to do things, or, make me do homework, or, say things that'll, hurt my feelings or something like that. Because Because I really, 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 really want to change as long as it doesn't require any work, or as long as I don't have to become somebody else or something. I just want to be really rich. As long as I can sit here at home and watch. I don't want to miss my soaps, you know. Mrs. Landry is about to tell us, you know, who got her daughter pregnant, and I've been waiting for 6 months for that information. Hell, I'm still trying to make sure that whoever they said shot JR actually did it. I think it was the butler. So I'm going to watch all the reruns to make sure I didn't miss something. But I still want to be a millionaire by the end of the year. Yeah. And what else can I throw your way with the last 6 minutes of my time? Oh, great quote from Jordan Peterson. I actually met somebody that doesn't like him. Yeah. Snowflake. Sorry. And he said, I don't know how to improve my life. Oh, yeah? Well, then you're not aiming low enough. There's always something small enough to start on. You don't start lifting weights by putting 400 pounds on the bar and then drop it down on your skull. But start somewhere. There is so much information available. There is so much stuff out there for free, and that's the problem. I've pointed out on here a couple of times that with the information, the classes, and the opportunities available on one of these things, if you've got one of these, short of mental illness and really weird, you know, things outside of your absolute control, there is no reason why people can't be making money, taking care of themselves, and not being forced to be homeless for an extended period of time. Gary Vaynerchuk points it out all the time. He goes, if you got one of these, this is $1 million business in your hand. And if nothing else, it's enough of a business to get you off the street. But you have to have the motivation to do it. And if you got time to watch funny cat videos and the latest episode of Jackass, you've got a chance to make enough money to feed yourself and eventually get off the streets. And he does it all the time. This dude's got plenty money. And he started from the bottom and brought his dad's business up and then jumped ship and built his own empire. So he didn't get money handed to him. And yeah, he swears like a sailor, but that's who he is. Whatever. But the advice he gives out blows my mind sometimes. And he still has a blast going to garage sales. And he'll find something, negotiate with the seller, pictures of it, gets back in the van and posts the pictures on eBay and Facebook Market and everything, doubles the price, sometimes triples, or even, depending on the find. I watched him buy something for $12. And by the end of the day, he sold it for $200. Not too bad of a profit margin for a Saturday afternoon, cruising around, hitting the garage sales. He said, if I can do that in a couple hours on a Saturday, Anybody should be able to. And it also comes down to what are you doing with your spare time, especially on even Instagram. Instagram has about 97 billion distractional avenues that you can go down. But a number of them have some pretty freaking amazing insights and information and knowledge in them as well. They're not just pictures of, shall we say, just humans who didn't get enough attention at home and want to build an empire on what they can show people. There's a couple of them that I've been following that side hustles, and one lady has a brilliant one called Boring Income. Love it. And some of the stuff she comes up with, she tells you about these income opportunities, and it almost hits me in a sour way. I'm like, what? Really? Oh, that would work. Shit. One of them that hit me hard was ice machines. You never think about who owns the ice machine. And her and her husband, I think she said now they've got like 15 of them. And she said it takes about 4 to 5 months to return your investment. But after that, it's all cash flow. And all it takes is power and water hookup. And every now and then, they set up a schedule, seeing how busy the machine is or whatever. Take the money out, replace or refill the plastic bags, change the water filter every now and then. And the rest, ching to ching, 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 money coming in while they sleep. And if anybody is detail oriented, knows how to track money and invest our stuff, there's so much money to be made online. It is retardified, because they will show you exactly how to do it. There's Etsy, and there's about 50 different Etsy style websites out there. And on Amazon and eBay, there's all these different little subcategories of handmade this and handmade that. And you go to Etsy and you go, well, that's cool. That's a great price. Copy, put the information into your, not Word, Holly, what is it? What's your favorite Microsoft application for tracking
Excel?
Word?
Excel.
Yes. Ding, ding, winner, winner, winner. And you put that information into an Excel program, has a description, has the URL of the Etsy location, has the price that they're charging, has the price that you're going to charge, and the URL on Amazon. So when somebody goes, purchase, and you get the notification from Amazon going, you have sold something, you go, oh, click, ship to them, you pay Etsy $7, you collect $28, you didn't even touch the damn thing. Winner, winner, chicken dinner with a side of mashed potatoes. Sold. And there are thousands of these side hustles out there. And it makes me kind of mad because when I was young, I was side hustling, fixing the neighborhood kids' bicycles and hanging out in a mechanic shop when I was 11, busting my butt and picking rock out in a field when it was only 2,000 degrees out there. And now these kids are like, I sprained my thumb, but I made $1 million. Really? 17-year-old with his own frickin' yacht? More power to him. Hell yeah, I'm all for it. Now teach me how to do it there, Slim.
I never could get the handle of that. And in my mind, to me, it'd be cheating.
I think part of it, and you hit on it correctly, is our mind. A majority of us who grew up a little, and yes, this is a crutch, an excuse, blah, blah, blah. I'm just as guilty. The idea of being able to do that, make money, and only touch a screen and never touch a product seems super foreign, even to me, until I've met a couple of these kids in college who, you know, I see them with their Beamer and I'm like, that's your car? Yeah, I just bought it. And my favorite question, you know, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you just bought it. Yeah, thanks, Mom and Dad. I go, really? Cool. What'd you pay for it? Da 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 da. What's your monthly payment on that? Da da da. How much is insurance? Da da da. I'm like, holy shit, you did buy it. How'd you buy it? Oh, I just do this thing and I products back and forth, the da da da, and I make a shit ton of money and I do some stock trading on the side. All right, Nance, thanks for showing up and your support. Sleep well. But again, that's where I see these kids, and I think we're harder on them than we should be. Yes, there are some that are absolute snowflake deluxe that, you know, they can't get their favorite caramel malte with the swirls and the sprinkles, and they need their safe place. But there's still enough of them that they're not afraid to work. They just don't want to do it the way their parents did. They want all the cool shit, and they're not afraid that they're not all about all the handouts, because some of them look at their parents and they're like, you can't afford the lifestyle that I want. I have to do it myself. Yeah, so more power to them. And if they're going to figure out how to, you know, quadruple the lifestyle their parents had, but they want to do it on their terms and they don't want to have to drive to a building and wear a name tag and all the above, I'd like to learn from them, because I worked the hard way long enough, and there are parts of my body that are like, no. It was last night when we were getting ready to go to bed, and I laid out on the floor to stretch, and I sounded like a large bowl of Rice Krispies, and even my wife was like, was that you? I'm like, yeah. Snap, crackle, pop, snap, crack, boom. Ugh. So, I know we're 7 minutes into your guys' time, but here's a piece of advice that was given to me a little too late, and I didn't listen to it quite as well as I should have, but it has saved me from I can at least still walk at this age where if I had not gotten this advice, I probably wouldn't be able to. And I've thought about it hard trying to figure out who to give credit to, and I can't for certain pin it down, but I'm pretty sure it was a older gentleman who was probably about my age at the time, old, but I was 19, 20, somewhere in there. And my ex-fiance and I were into rodeo. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Love rodeo. You know, I'm 6 foot tall, bulletproof. Ah, give me that. I'll take him on. And he said, anytime you want to get into something different or you want a different job, pause for a bit and look at the people who have been doing it for quite a while. Notice what condition their body is in. Notice what they drive and how they live, and ask yourself, is that who I want to be when I'm their age? And I was doing construction work at the time, and I remember like it was yesterday. I went back to construction work and I looked over and I saw the guys that were doing cement work. And I realized that they looked twice their age, if not more. Every one of them walked around with a bad back, bad knees, bad shoulders. Their hands were all, you know. I looked at a bunch of the old carpenters that I grew up with. Their hands, all of their, every finger, the joints were swollen, and I watched them in the morning coming to the job site, and they're like, yeah, gotta get limbered up. Oh man. And the beat up old cars they were driving, or the old trucks. And I was like, you've worked 40 hours a week, and all you can afford is that old thing. Your tools are old and beat up. And it really hit me. Pay attention to the people that have been doing this, and tell the young kids, you know, that I've got my old neighbor in California, his son wanted to go into infantry. And I'm like, God bless you, man. You know, appreciate the service, but you're an A student. You are brilliant. The kid, mechanically super inclined, good with numbers. And I'm like, what is it about the infantry that you want to do rather than, you know, all of the other stuff that you could, man, you could qualify for college degree, you could go in for officers and all that stuff. And he's just like, well, I just, somebody's got to fight. I'm like, no, there's enough thick-necked men named Gunther that have this, you know, they're built like an ox and have the same IQ. I would rather give them the gun and let them go charging in. I don't want them hurt any more than anybody else, but if all they know, if the only thing they know is how to fight and kill people, put them on the front line. About solutions to stopping the war. If you have the ability to fight or design better things, I would rather have you back farther figuring out solutions to make sure it never happens. And then I hit him with, look at the people that have been doing it for a long time and ask them what they like best about it. Because it's a very small population that went out there. He said, I can introduce you to plenty of guys that came back after 4 years, and it was the worst thing, the biggest nightmare they ever had to deal with. So that got a little dark. Sorry. let's go back to the original part. Look at what people do for a long time. Is that who you want to be? And is that what you want to do? Save my butt, or I would probably have stayed in rodeo a little bit longer and be walking with a permanent limp. And we're 13 minutes into your guys' time. So, who's got something that they want to talk about or add in, or this is open mic session?
So TJ,
Yes.
so I live in Houston, and there's a whole bunch of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people who got laid off in the oil business since 2015.
Yep.
And that's when oil price went from $100 per barrel to $20 per barrel in a
Okay.
matter of a couple of weeks. So a whole bunch of people got laid off. And so a lot of people just went to different businesses, and some people I see work at Costco.
Okay.
So basically, it's not necessarily their passion. So, going and listening to you doing all of this, I'm saying all of this in terms of how people work and all of that. What's your thought in that?
Okay. Do I have permission to be tough?
Of course.
You said it happened back in 2016.
It started in 2015, yes.
2015. My question then is that with all the years that have passed, whatever they did, if Costco or whatever kept them off the streets from 9 to 5, what did they do from 5 to 9 to find something better? And whether that be in a different field, whether it be improving what did they do in their spare time to improve their marketability?
Well,
And what's that?
some of them went into real estate. Others who are geologists, actually went into environmental geology. That's about it. Others try to find their way, but yeah, it's kind of hard to coming from such a high paid field to work somewhere else.
I agree. It can be hard, especially when your identity and your financial thermostat is set at a certain level. But part of it's going to come down to, are you going to allow that to hold you back from other ways of getting that lifestyle back? And I've been there. I'm on profession 28. So talk about, hey, I'll try something different. And I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that it'll be as hard starting over or reinventing yourself is going to be as hard as you make it to a point. And a lot of people, I can't believe that 100% of the people that went through that didn't find an answer. So my question is, the ones that did, or the ones that reinvented themselves, what was different about them? What did they do? What did they do in their spare time? And regardless of where they are today, did they consider, at what point did they consider good enough? It's an interesting thing to address, because in 2007, when, you know, the whole housing industry and everything took an absolute flush down the toilet, I lost everything. Lost my business, I lost my property. I ended up in California, 335,000 in debt, sleeping in a garage. Then I found an unfinished basement out in the outskirts of town that I basically hung up some curtains in the middle, because that separated my bedroom from the pool table. And ironically, you know what changed it for me? Somebody asked me if I took time to grieve the loss of my property and my business and my identity, and I hadn't. And as soon as I went, wow, yes, that was taken from me. I didn't give it up. I had it taken from me, and it could have been a tornado, which honestly, to be honest with you, I would have preferred that a tornado would have came through and flattened my property and took everything from me. It would have been much easier than realizing that I had to leave it behind and I couldn't figure out a way to pay it, and it went back and I lost it and I still owed money. And again, I'm not saying this as to get pity or anything or to impress you, but to impress upon you that the people that made it through at some point said, this happened, and this is where I want to be. And chances are, in their spare time, they learned new skills. They figured out different avenues. If I have to make X amount of dollars and I can't find any opportunities in my old field, what's a new field that I'm physically and mentally qualified for that I may be lacking skills on, but pays this level, that in a year or 2 years, I can get all the skills needed to be right back at this income level. And it may be something completely different, something they never even saw on the radar. Like, oh, trust me, 8 years ago when I bumped into Dr. David Snyder, do you think I was thinking this was what I'm going to be doing? No. I was doing fine. I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I was off the streets and I was having fun, and I had good income, and I had the lifestyle that I could live with and be proud of, even though I was not making a whole lot of money.
So
And
here's
then-
a question.
oh, yeah, go ahead, Fran. Sorry.
I'm really interested in the reinventing yourself process when the world comes crashing down, and the actual steps. You've covered some of them, but could you kind of go through almost a checklist of what it takes to let go of the old and start the new, so that you can, when you feel like you've lost your identity, to recreate a new one?
Yes, and I'm gonna throw one more analogy out on it. Is anybody who's ever raised children, had children, and the amount of identity changes that you went through for that process. First, you were born. Mom and dad were God. Then you got older. Mom and dad aren't God. I'm God. And then you got your butt whooped and you found out I'm not God. I got to get this shit figured out. And then you make it through high school. Identity change. Now, oh, I'm an adult. I hate adulting. I don't want to adult anymore. And then you meet somebody. And then all of a sudden you're not single. You're a couple. And they suck, so then you're single, and then you find somebody else and you're a couple, and then they suck, and then you're single, and then you're a couple, and you finally find the one. Now you're married. Another identity change, Mr. and Mrs. And then the tango dance happens, and two become three. And now, identity change. You are owners of a small human. You're parents. Identity change. And then you want to kill them, but you keep them around because you're invested in them. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, they graduate high school, and boom, they're out of the house. And now if the two of you are still married after dealing with those little terrorists in the house, your identity has changed once again. And through that all, you've gone through so many identity changes that you have to evaluate, who am I? Lillian Bridges had a great analogy. I know I'm chasing squirrels, blah, 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 but about relationships and marriage. And she said, one of the biggest mistakes, when you're married, two become one. No. Two become together, but it's still two. And it's like we're all floating down these waterways that we call life in our own canoe. And then we look over and we're like, hey, that's a sexy canoe. Would you like to canoodle? And sorry, couldn't resist. And so the two of you are now married, but you're not in the same canoe. You're paddling next to each other. And if shit goes down or you hit the rapids, you keep track of each other and you help each other and all the above, but you're not tied together. And sometimes we forget about that and we drift. We're still talking, but all of a sudden we look over and one canoe went down the wrong tributary. And there's land between. And that's an identity change. So when we go through these things, I've been laid off, I've been fired, I'm not a very good employee. Kind of want to run the damn place, and I'm not afraid to open my mouth and tell them where things could be better. And so you look at that and you have to step back, and especially if you don't have a huge amount of money that you can live on, or a pension or unemployment or something, you scramble. You'll grab the first thing that shows up. And then those that know me, I have a very famous saying, especially after being in 28 different types of work. And that is, I was looking for a job when I got this one. And too many people get a job and they go, oh, I've got a job. This is me. This is my identity. And I am never going to look for a job again because I'm going to retire here. And I hate to say it, but I've listened to too many podcasts. I've watched too many things. The days of corporate loyalty and job loyalty are dwindling faster than a big stone in the ocean. It used to be that you get a job and you work there for 30 years, you get a pension and a gold watch and some bad cake and a couple of sandwiches, and everybody congratulates you. And you go home and you live happily ever after on the money they set aside for you. But if you see what happened in the news recently, I think it was IBM just got busted for axing a bunch of their mature workers because they were about to get to retirement age and had pensions set up. And there was an accidental email that got caught where it looks, I'm not going to say this is exactly what happened, but it's looking pretty much like the execs went out and found out who was all becoming eligible for retirement, and they didn't make it to the finish line. So now you've got all these IBM execs that are a year, 2, 3, 4 away from retirement age. And some of them are going to stumble and fall flat on their face and not know how to get up. But I guarantee you there'll be a number of them that are going to stumble, scrape their knee, get up, get pissed off, and they're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to reinvent themselves. And when you think about a bunch of the inspirational stories like Colonel Sanders, 60 years old, and had to figure out how to make things happen because he wasn't exactly what back then, when it was even worse, he wasn't exactly considered prime employee status. And so he went around trying to sell his recipe for fried chicken. And everybody turned him down. Finally, he was like, screw it, I'll do it myself. And we kind of know how that turned out. I mean, yeah. So I don't let people use age. I don't let them use, well, I've tried everything. Everything? Have you really tried everything? And as much as I used to be against network marketing, that has completely 180 degrees. I am completely for it, but you have to have the right training, you have to have the right product, and you have to have the right training, and you have to have the right team and leaders, and you have to have the right training. Did I mention training? Because network marketing is its own world of selling. And I'm completely, I don't care what people, how much people bag on Robert Kiyosaki or any of those guys. They pointed out that network marketing is one of the purest forms of sales and marketing on the planet because it has 0.000001 discrimination. It doesn't care where you came from, your education, your background, your color, your genetics, your family tree, nothing. Nothing. Doesn't even care if you've got a criminal background as long as you're doing it right for the right reasons. And you get paid for your performance. That's it. And when I was in World Ventures, which ironically is how I got to meet Dr. David, part of the reason why they have their big events where people get to walk the stage and say a quick blurb, the reason they do that is so that the people in the crowd can go, you shitting me? They did it? You shit me? That one? Are you kidding? Really? The guy comes up with bib overalls, 2 teeth, wearing his farm boots. He goes, "Yep, like the product. Told a bunch of people. Made $380,000 this year. Having a good time. Thank you." And you're like, "What? Him?" I'm not saying that again to tell you to go out for any particular product, but we need to open our minds now. Everybody referred back to Amway and the other stuff where they like to pull the surprise, gotcha. Come on over to my house. I want to show you something. All of a sudden they show up and you're one of 15 people. You're wondering why the heck you're there. Why are there 14 other people here? And hey, listen to Joe. You don't know him, but you know, and he puts on this big spiel about everything and doesn't tell you the name of the company until the very end. Those days are gone. So if you're looking for some of the best training out there, Eric Worre, GoPro. It's a book. He's got a video. He's got audiobook. And even if you don't want to do network marketing, I still recommend people read the book or listen to the audiobook. Again, it's Eric Worre, WORRE, GoPro. And ironically, he teaches a lot of values and criteria elicitation for sales. What a concept. And I will put in a plug for the audiobook. All right, Ray. Take care. But I'll put in a plug for the audiobook for GoPro because during it has a few things that are not in the other book. And one of them is a speech that he kind of wedged himself into having to do. He got a little cocky with another sales rep who was actually pretty good and a very good speaker. And because he won, he had to get up in front of a whole bunch of people at a national conference and give a speech. And if that was his first speech, I am so pissed off and impressed because he nails it. I mean, goosebumps and everything. You're just like, oh, dude, great speech. And I burned up 36 minutes of your time. Hope you guys got something out of it. Any questions on the 17 large squirrels I chased down the road? Anybody? Bueller? I think if not, I'm going to touch on a few other things about identity and identity changing. And a lot of it comes down to especially the phrase "I am," and we so often link our identity with our occupation all the time. So what do? I am a dentist. I am a construction worker. I am a, instead of I provide dental work for people. And describe what we do instead of I am. And I think in that, when we're looking at life change, chapter change, identity change, we have to allow ourselves again to grieve, mourn, or pay tribute to the past chapter and how far it brought us. What did it make of us? What did we get from it? What is inside of that chapter? And if we're at a point where it looks like that's not going to be in the next chapter, put an end to the chapter. Put a divider in there. And then, like and I'll be right with you, Elijah. Like in Golden Path, when Lillian Pearl Bridges would put on Golden Path, she made sure that people understood that this class isn't here to tell you what job you're going to do. What it does, what Golden Path does, is it looks at what you've done your entire life up to this point. What are the different jobs you've had? What are the different things you love to do? Where have you been? Who do you hang around with? And searching for that thread that goes through all of them that tells you what kind of path you're on, so you can figure out what kind of thing to do next. And Elijah, you raised your hand?
Hello.
Yep.
Morning, boys and girls. Pleasure to be here. Hello. Hi.
Yep. Hello.
Yeah, I wanted to say about this whole I am a dentist, I am a lawyer, I am a blah, 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 right? And the thing I think is important to get across is that as long as you know that you are that's not all that you are, you can still physically say the words, and there's nothing wrong with speaking that way, right? As long as you don't fall into the hypnosis that that's what you are. And one of my mentors says that no matter what you think you are, you're always more than that. And hear it both ways. It's no matter what you think you are, you're always more than that, right? So, yeah, just as long as you don't get trapped in thinking that that's everything you are, because there is also a value in not getting all metaphysical with people, right? Because we did a big exercise once on this who am I, who are you question, right?
Uh-huh.
And by the end, people were asking me like, well, who are you really? And I would say I am someone who is still discovering all of who I am, right? And if you answer that way to a complete stranger who knows nothing about hypnosis or NLP or any of that stuff, or that they're not really into self-development, they're just making small talk, then they're just going to think you're a weirdo. So it's okay to speak the way most people understand, as long as you know within yourself that when I say I am a hypnotist, that I know I'm so much more than that. So I just thought that was an important thing to bring up.
It is. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else have some input? Because this is your time. I've been talking a lot in your time, so. You realize if you're quiet, I will keep talking. People that know me know that I can ramble for, I kind of have that thing like David has. You get me up in front of people, and if I get to talk and teach, I'll put you all, you'll all be sleeping.
Do it. Do it.
That's why I want to get projects here done enough to where I can go. And I know that's an excuse. I'm sorry, but I do my classes.
Yeah, I just really agree with everything you've been saying. We're never not selling. Even now, as I say this, or even before when you were speaking, in essence, you're selling an idea to the rest of the people who are listening. You know what I mean? So it's never not happening. Persuasion and sales and all that influence, it all goes hand in hand. And so it is important to always do your echoing, and it's important to always do your matching and mirroring and your rapport building, and yeah, do it all the time, because it just helps you go further in life. It helps you make friends.
You just brought a flashback. I think it was probably at one of the millionaire mindset trainings I went to. And I don't remember who was teaching, but they came up and they said, raise your hand if you're a salesman. A bunch of hands went up. And he said, raise your hand if you're not a salesman. Bunch of hands went up, and he goes, all of you with your hands up, you're not a salesman, you're delusional. Every one of you is a salesman. Every one of you is a salesman every day, everywhere, all the time. When you're at home and they ask, what do you want for supper? You're a salesman. When you're driving down the road, when you want to listen to a radio station, when you're trying to pick, anytime you're talking with somebody and they bring up an idea and you've got a different idea, you're a salesman. Everybody is a salesman. Everything is sales. Even children. Talk about children being salesmen. Yeah, they know who to ask, because if dad says no, whole different sales approach on the other side of the house. Yeah, everybody's a salesman.
And also, children know, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Also, children know about creating the positive state in the client before going for the close. Because I had my niece come up to me and ask me about my sister. She comes up to me, she says, you know if mom's in a good mood or not? And straight away, she wants something, right?
Yeah.
That she has a higher probability of getting a yes if mom's in a good mood, right? So they innately know, and we all kind of innately know, to, I don't want to say it this way, but to butter up whoever it is you're selling before you ask the question, right? That's just the way it is. Because like you said a week ago or 2 weeks ago, nobody makes decisions based on logic. It's always emotional, right?
Yep. And even when they think it's logic, because they've gone through all the logical ideas and thought about it, they still base it on how it makes them feel once they've gotten all the stuff put together. And another little thing that cropped up, another squirrel that ran across the street, and I grabbed it by the tail when you were talking about that, in Chinese facial reading, when we learn about the auditory lines here, we found in common with people that had a lot of them, parents who could be somewhat temperamental at times, and you had to know how to listen to discern whether or not mom and dad were in a good mood or not, because that told you what you were going to do about certain situations. Were you going to ask to go to McDonald's? No, doesn't sound like Pops is in the mood for McDonald's. I think I'm just going to sit back here and be quiet.
Yeah, you learn which card to play when.
What's that?
You learn which card to play when.
Yes, oh yeah. Uh-huh.
When to hold them, when to fold them, right?
Yep. So, 13 minutes left. Who else has got something that we can throw on the fire for 13 minutes before I pull something else out of the book.
So TJ, I got a question for you real quick.
Well,
Are you can you hear me?
yep, I can hear you, man.
Okay, you and I have talked about this quite a bit, actually. How do you figure out, because a lot of people, they say, oh, well, just figure out what you like. But a lot of people get really lost in this. I don't really know what I want.
Okay.
How do you go about trying to figure out what you want?
Jordan Peterson recently hit me hard with a really good comeback to that. And his answer was, do something, anything. Because even if it's the wrong thing, like if you've got 7 roads to pick from, pick one, just go. And a mile down the road, you're like, oh, this is the wrong road. I should have been on that one. But you would have never had that perspective back at the start. The road looks completely different a mile down this road when you look across. The other thing that I've noticed, remember, 28 different professions, is in doing something, I realized that I was good at something and I was not so good at something else. And I think that goes right in line with what Jordan was talking. Had I not been in that job, I would not have thought of the other job, and I would not have realized that this is not the one for me. And then getting in line with especially if you can find people who, like therapists who have done Golden Path training, where they can ask you questions about your life from childhood on up and dig into your values and criteria and challenge you on ideas and concepts. And one thing that I tell my college kids, because they're the favorite ones, they know exactly what they want to do and they're flipping clueless all in the same thing. And I tell them, if you could do absolutely anything and get paid, like let's say that Warren Buffett for Gits and Shiggles decided to do a Social Security lottery, and your number came up and he said, hey, you know what? I will pay all of your bills and everything. The only caveat is you have to do something productive to give back to the world at least 4 days a week. 4-day work week. I don't care what you do. I will pay all your bills. If that was the case, what would you do? Because there's some jobs out there that I've heard about that literally, honestly, you're like, wait a minute, somebody gets paid to do that? I mean, like, really, they get paid. Like they get like paid a living like wage paid. I would do that shit for free. And they're making a living doing it? Really? 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 They're out there. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm doing it right now. I never thought that I would get to do stuff like this to help people without busting my back and my body and all this stuff, and change people for, change generations. And sometimes it chokes me up, but some of the stories that people have told me, yeah. Got a hand raised.
For me, one of the biggest realization regarding if you have a mental illness is that no one is going to come and save you. You have to save yourself, because no matter what they said in childhood with, Prince Charming, and if you watch all those Disney movies, people get saved. But in life, it's like, like you said with the canoes, you have one canoe next to each other. They can try and help you, but you have to save yourself.
Yep.
You can't, no one can actually do the physical work for you. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's probably one of the hardest realizations.
And then again, in the day and age where we have a computer in our pocket connected to everything in the world,
And
it
if
can
they
be
saved, sorry.
No, go ahead,
And
please.
if they did save you, it's robbing you of the opportunity to learn how to do that as well. And I mean, we love to help people, but we also need to be aware that we shouldn't do so much that we rob them of the opportunity of learning how to do it themselves. So, that's the fine line. And TJ, can you play with that too, please?
Yes, that goes right in line with David's training on people will not accept what you tell them. They will accept what they conclude. And so especially doing coaching and therapeutic work and things of this nature, you once again get really good at asking questions that they answer, drilling down to values and criteria of theirs, going in directions that they control. Because when it's all of their experience, their words, their outlooks, they own it. I can, spend all day, I know what your problem is. That, when you were a kid, you probably got spanked one too many times, that one time. That's what it was. That's all you got to do is say, I don't want to be spanked anymore, and you're cured. All right. Nope. You're dealing with humans in their natural environment, and everybody is wired differently. Their foundations are built out of completely different materials, and their goals and aspirations are all different. I mean, I like asking people in some of the most mundane jobs, what do you like best about it? And you know what? Some of them are absolutely ecstatically happy in their mundane job, in their little house or their little apartment, driving their little car, making what I would refuse to live on. But if that is their form of nirvana, awesome. It's when I'm asking them and they hate their job, they hate their boss, life sucks, blah, 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 I don't make enough. And I ask them, okay, so what do you do in your spare time? Oh, I like to watch All-Star Wrestling and I play Candy Crush. And I've got about to level 12 billion on Candy Crush. And I like watching fishing shows. And I'm like, yes, but what are you doing to get ahead? I can't get ahead. Look at me. It's the man crushing me down. Got no choice. Life sucks. I live in America. So Ask me how I feel about that. And that, it's a little harsh, but again, the people that I've run across, what I've been through, the people that I've helped, the stuff that I've seen firsthand, World Ventures, I've met people. I met a dude that was a homeless rapper, covered in tats. And I met a lady who was living in a women's shelter with her daughter, and through network marketing became the first person in her family's lineage to make over 500,000 in 1 year. And right behind her came this tattooed rapper. And he had a button-up shirt like this, sleeves buttoned down, and he goes, "Just so y'all know, none of you would have hired me. You know how I know? Because I looked for a job for 2 years. And when I walked into your place, and as soon as you saw these tats, I knew I was done. But because that mother was willing to talk to me, told me that I could do it and she would help me, I am now the first one in my family to make over 100,000 legally. And I'm just getting started. Boom. There's excuses, and then there's reality.
Could I put in a two bobs worth and maybe ask a question of Francine as well? You know, Francine, you've been through some really tough times and you've worked really hard at what you've done. What was the turning point for you that made the difference to get where you are now?
I think the first step was to realizing that when I came across David's Snyder's videos online, and I couldn't get out the house because the anxiety was just too high. I just couldn't even pass the threshold of the house. And then managing to fly to Sydney and do the course, that was, I think, the first bit where I thought, okay, I have to do this. I can help myself. And then recently was the realization that, there's no Prince Charming coming to rescue me. I have to do this myself. I think that was the second bit. And that was recent, actually. That was very recent. You know, having to get up every day and knowing you have a mental illness where people say, oh, you'll never get better. But you decide, fuck them, I'm the miracle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fuck them, I'm the miracle. Can do whatever you want. I'll take all your money, don't get me wrong. I'll take all your money from all the insurances, and then I am getting better.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's a decision you make inside yourself that, there's no, I've been dealt a hard hand, but you know what? You don't get more than you can deal with.
Yep. Because sometimes Prince Charming doesn't show up in shiny armor. He shows up in old aluminum foil, and you're like, really? That's what you get?
Yes, but I love your idea of the canoes. You know, they're going down the river, and sometimes you come apart, but then you can also come back together as well. You don't have to stay.
Yep.
You know, you can actually choose to stay together and to make it work as well.
And what I tell a lot of the majority of my clients, you are the king or the queen of your kingdom. And you get to decide who stays in the kingdom,
You get sad.
who gets to come inside the city walls, who gets to get close to the castle, who's allowed in the castle, who is allowed to eat at the great table in the dining hall, who's allowed to come up and visit the upper room in the turret, and only you get to decide who gets to sleep in the big bed in the master bedroom. Just because they're family or they've been friends for a long time doesn't mean necessarily they get to be in the city. That's a privilege. And sure as hell doesn't mean that they get to be in the castle. I've got a few people that I've known all my life. They can come in the city. If they're nice, I'll let them in the castle. But they don't have the privilege to eat at the grand table anymore. And they sure as hell don't get to see the turret. And they do not get to even know where the master bedroom is. So there. And with that, we are 4 minutes over our allotted time. Again, I appreciate every single one of you. And for those of you that are watching the recording, I appreciate you watching the recording. Suppose I got to start doing all of these. Please click subscribe and the little dingy ringy bell so that on the next one you get, I don't know, maybe I'll start making money. I don't know. I'm just here because I like doing this. Spread the word. Thank you so much for your your input, and all the income you're going to have with all of the great stuff that I've programmed in you. And know that you are loved and you are worth it. And I don't know what else to say. I could ramble for another 3 days, but I'll just leave it at that. You guys
Do it.
see you on the next
I
one.
dare you.
Is that a double dog dare?
Do it.
All right.
Night,
See you in
TJ.
7.
Thank you. Night.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Bye.
You bet.